we were WWE guys. Can't speak for you, Phil, completely, but I was. And the Age of Cable is where we get to see these other wrestlers doing something totally different and quite incredible. So when we have the former NWA guys, Mid-Atlantic guys in here, there seems to be a mixed bag. And obviously he's your friend and your mentor, Dusty Rhodes, but many of them were under the opinion that Dusty was about Dusty all the time, right? He always found a way to make sure he stayed over no matter at what cost or what price. What's your response to that?
And my response to it is this. Dusty could step outside the box and look at Dusty as a talent, as from Virgil Runnels looking at Dusty Rhodes just like another guy he's got on his roster. Because Dusty made more money booking than he made in the ring. Okay? Straight up. I mean, like triple what he made actually wrestling. And he knew that he was going to get all the squeeze he could get out of all the major players. Now, there's times in his career where, when he was in Florida and they were just shoveling heels at him, building them and then beating them and whatnot, I could understand it. But during my era and my interaction with him, he had invested in me like probably no one else has ever been invested in by one person in this business. The Crockett's told me if I'd leave Mid-South and come to work for them, they'd give me the biggest push anybody had ever got in the wrestling industry. And they made good their word, and Dusty was the one that made them believe in me and told them what he saw in me. And he was pushing me to surpass what he had done. I hadn't done it yet, but the die had been cast. The votes had been cast. It was coming. And so when I went down, there was no plan B. So Dusty was still here at that tip-top level of his ability to perform, and the whole company went into this, we got to grab superstars to bring in to keep this momentum going and all this thing. And so he fell right into that piece of it. Had he been the selfish man that he sometimes portrayed to be, he wouldn't have ever been grooming and pushing me to be where he was pushing me to be. And so no one else had that relationship with him like that to be able to have seen that side of him. Don't get me wrong, I felt many times like he and I were competing because there was times when they could have passed the torch earlier, but I also know that he was trying to build something to a crescendo, to a level, to make something so big that it was just going to send shockwaves across the whole wrestling industry. So I understood it. And for the others, the ones that were trying to be in that top spot and felt like he was holding on a little too long, they have a different story because they were in a different place.
You mentioned a few times, right? We talked about suicide, and you went this horrific accident, and I could imagine the struggles you had to go with and the positivity you brought out. May I ask, was there a thought process that you felt you let down your entire team because of this accident and you might have destroyed everything that they were building?
Hands down. First words I uttered out of my mouth to Dusty and Jim Crockett both was how sorry I was. As I'm laying in a bed, in a rotokinetic bed, paralyzed from my neck down, and all I can think about is I had this whole organization built around pushing me to the moon to be their flagship, to take them to the next level in this battle we're in with the WWF. And it took me a long time to get over that piece of it, because I watched from a hospital bed as they were making moves and doing things that I knew in my head were ultimately going to damage the company out of a reaction.
And that's a tremendous burden. There's a lot of burdens, physically, mentally. So you got to give yourself a lot of props for hanging in there and doing that and becoming the man you are today. It's pretty incredible. So I applaud you for that. I definitely.